December, week 2, math, 3rd grade, lesson 3, rounding whole numbers. When you round a number, you're finding a number close to that number. The rounded number tells about how many or about how much, not the exact. Get it? So if Liz has 12 leaves, she says she has about 10 leaves. The word about means that the number 10 is close to 12. Liz rounded 12 to the nearest 10. You can also round numbers to the nearest 100. A number line can be used to round to the nearest 10 or 100. You can place the number you want to round on the number line and determine which 10 or 100 it is closer to. Example 1, a scientist found a starfish that has 38 arms. About how many arms did the starfish have?
40.
And so they made a number line. I'm not going to read all their words. They put the two closest tens to 38, which is 30 and 40. Okay, 38. The two closest tens would be 30 and 40. Then in the middle they marked 35. That's very important. Then they put the 38 on the number line with a little dot. And that tells you that the closest 10 is 40. So down here, the solution, the starfish had about 40 arms. I have a symbol for that, and it looks like this. Look. And you guys have seen me use that just once or twice before. It means is almost equal to. It's an equal sign with a bump in it. All right?
So that means it's almost equal, but then
Yeah. Yeah, like a rat and a mouse. Good. A rat is almost equal to a mouse. It's bigger. Over in that corner, Gideon. All right. Go ahead and turn to the next page. You're going to have to flip your sheet over, and it should say 103. Rounding rules can also help you round to the nearest 10 or 100. First, find the place you are rounding to, which is either going to be tens or hundreds. Then, here's the important part. I want you guys to underline this. Look at the digit to the right of that place. I want you guys to make a line under that. That's super important. Okay? If that digit is less than 5, do not change the digit in the rounding place. But if that digit is 5 or more, 5 or greater, then you increase the digit in the rounding place and go up 1. So remember, first you find the rounding place. So what if it asked you to round to thousands? You would go units, tens, hundreds, thousands, and then look to the right. And if that number's 5 or more, go back to the thousands place and go up 1. Did you guys get it? But you got to look to the right to decide. And then you change all the other digits to the right of the rounding place to 0. So anything that comes after the rounding place becomes 0. Now you don't mess with anything to the left. Those stay. But anything to the right of the rounding place, you start putting zeros. Example 2. We're going to try this. Kit scored 873 points in a season. Round 873 to the nearest 10 and the nearest 100. Step 1. Find the tens place. It's this 7. Then look at the digit to the right. What did they put under it? A little line. Do you see that? It's a 3, and there's a little line under it. They drew a line under it. The digit to the right is 3. Now you apply the rounding rules. 3 is less than 5, so don't change the digit 7 that's in the rounding place. That 7 has to stay the same. Change the 3 to 0. And 873 rounded to the nearest 10 is 870. Now try it to the hundreds. Find the hundreds place. What is it? The 8. You see that? Look to the right, and it's the little 7. The digit to the right of the hundreds place is 7. Apply the rounding rules. 7 is greater than 5. So you're gonna increase that 8 and turn it into a 9. You go up by 1. Change the 7 in the tens place and the 3 in the units place to zeros, because those are to the right of the rounding place, right? Anything to the right becomes zeros. So 873 rounded to the nearest hundred is 900. And they're telling you that there. Next page, flip your whole sheet over. Example 3, round these numbers to the nearest hundred. Which numbers round to 600? I'm not going to read all of theirs. We're just going to kind of do it. You guys ready? First one, 554. What did they ask you to round to the nearest?
600.
Guys, they asked you to round to the nearest what?
100.
100. Look at, circle the word 100 up there. Did you all do it? Circle it? Good. Now look at the first one. Go like this. Units, tens, and make an arrow on the hundreds. Because that's what they asked you to round to. Look to the right. It's a 5. So go back to the rounding place, which is also a 5, right? You've got a 5 here and a 5 here. What do we have to do with the 5 that's in the rounding place?
Make it 6.
It has to go up by 1. Yeah, because next to the right of it is a 5. Anything 5 or up. Okay, so go back to that 5, the one in the rounding place. So, ready? Use your little symbol, what I've taught you. An equal sign with a bump in it. And the rounding place changes to a 6 because there's a 5 next to it. Everything else becomes nothing. Everything else becomes zeros. So that first one will work. Let's try the next one. Ready? Go like this. Units, make a dot. Tens, make a dot. Hundreds, put the arrow, because that's what they asked for. Look to the right of it. What do you see? A 2. When there's a 2, go back to the rounding place with the arrow. This has to stay the same. So that 6 stays the same, and everything else becomes zeros. So that one works. Let's try the last one. Yeah, look. There's one more. So you're going to go units with a dot, tens with a dot, hundreds, put the arrow. Look to the right. It's a 6. What's going to happen to the rounding place? It becomes 7. Good, Grayson. The 6 in a rounding place has a 6 next to it, so it's got to go up to a 7. So go put your little equals with a bump. Change the 6 in the rounding place to a 7. Everything else becomes zeros. So does the last one work?
No.
No. Only the first 2. Alright, so let's put check marks by the first 2, but no check mark by the last one. Now, we just saved ourselves a lot of words, didn't we? So I'd like you to flip this page over. Not your whole packet, just the page. And you should be on page 105 if you do it right. Okay, Tess wanted to round some numbers to the nearest 100. Which numbers round to 200?
151.
So Gideon is saying maybe that first one does. Let's try it. Units, tens, hundreds. Put an arrow on that hundreds spot. Right now it's a 1. Look to the right. What do you see?
A 5.
A 5. Go back to the rounding spot. What has to happen to that 1?
0.
No, the one in the rounding spot. This one. What happens to it?
2.
It has to go up to 2. Good job. So we're going to put our little equals with a bump. Change that 1 in the hundreds to a 2. everything to the right of it just becomes zeros. So that one actually works. The second one, let's do our units, tens, hundreds, dot, dot, arrow on the hundreds, okay? What's in the hundreds place? A 2. What's to the right?
7.
7. Go back to the 2. What has to happen to it?
Grow.
It has to grow. Has to go up
Grass goes
to a 3. And everything else becomes zeros, and that one does not work.
Then it's the last.
Last one, dot on the units, dot on the tens, arrow on the hundreds, look to the right, 4. The 2 in the hundreds place has to stay the same, right? So put your little equals with a bump. The 2 in the hundreds stays. Everything else becomes 0.
200.
So the top and the bottom one work. Give them check marks. Go down to this part because I don't want to fill out all this stuff. Rounded to the nearest 100, the numbers, what was the first one that we did?
151.
151. Now do an upside down fish for an and.
245.
And then Reuben got the other one, 245, 245.
Then next one.
Both round to 200. Okay, did you all write it? So now you're going to flip your entire packet over to get to page 106. Number 1, round 536 to the nearest 10, then round it to the nearest 100, and select true or false for each statement. Okie doke, guys. Ready? First, they want us to do it to the nearest 10, so you're going to go like this. Look. Units, tens. Where's your arrow?
100.
Tens.
It's on what digit is it on?
5.
It should be on a 3. The arrow should be on a 3. I'm waiting for Gage. Rest of you, good job. Look to the right. What do you see? Good. You see a 6. What has to happen to that 3 then? Has to grow up. Has to grow. So it's going to be a 4. So you're going to write 500, 4, and then anything to the right of the rounding place becomes zeros. So there it is to the nearest 10. Okay? But they also wanted us to round the same number, 536, to the nearest 100. So this time I'm going to go units with a dot, tens with a dot, hundreds. And this time my arrow is on the 5 of the 500s. Look to the right. It's a 3. So what happens to that 5? It stays the same. So to the nearest 100, and I'm going to do red, 536. The 5 stays and everything else becomes zeros. There it is to the nearest 100. Now we can answer the questions. A. When rounding to the nearest 10, the digit in the tens place stays the same.
Nope.
No, the 3 became a 4. That is false. B. When rounding to the hundreds place, the rounded number is greater than 536. False. It was actually less. Look at that.
Way less.
Quite a lot less. You're right, Gage.
Yeah, 36 less.
Yep. C. When rounding to the tens place, the rounded number is greater than 536.
No.
True.
That's actually true. It was. D. When rounding to the nearest hundred, the digit in the hundreds place stays the same. Guys, look. What is in the... It's true. Look, there's 5 in the hundreds place. And then when we did it to the nearest hundred, it still has a 5 in the hundreds place. So that one's true.
It's a pattern. It's a pattern.
It is kind of. Okay, going to number 2. On safari, Jacob saw 63 monkeys in a troop. About how many monkeys are in the troop? Use the number line to round 63 to the nearest 10. What are the nearest 10s to 63? 60, good. And 70, okay. So you're going to put those on your number line. 60 goes here and the 70 goes at the end. Those are the closest 10s to 63. What are we going to put right in the middle? 65. So you're going to count 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Label that one. And now find the point on the number line where 63 would go. So 60, 61, 62, 63. Is it closer to 60 or 70?
60.
Okay. So here it says about something monkeys.
60.
60. Number 3. Round each number to the nearest 100 and the nearest 10. Write the correct number from the box. Over here, that's this tall, skinny box in the table. 397. Ready, guys? Let's do it to the nearest 100 first. Units, tens, hundreds. Look to the right, it's a 9. What is going to happen to the 3 in the hundreds place?
Grow.
It has to grow. It's going to go to a 4. Everything else is going to become zeros. There we go. Then over here you can circle that 400. Now they want you to round the exact same number to the nearest 10, so I'm just going to go like this, look, with a different color. Units, tens. What's in the tens place? A 9. Look to the right.
7.
There's a 7. Ooh. The 9 is going to change to a 10, but you can't do that, right? You can't put a 10 in there. So you're going to change that 3 to a 4 again. Did you guys get it? Because you can't put a little 10 in the tens place. A 10 of tens is 100, isn't it? So that goes to a 4 again. So those are the same. Did you all get what I did?
Yeah.
Pretty weird, huh? You can't change. Are you allowed to put a little tiny 10 in that tens place? Let's try the next one. 345, we'll do hundreds first. Ready? To the nearest 100. Units, tens, hundreds. It's a 3. Look to the right.
5 and 4.
4.
Must shrink.
The 3 stays the same. Good. And everything else becomes zeros.
300.
300. Double 300.
Going back to that number, units, tens. This time I'm putting my arrow on that 4. Look to the right.
5.
It's a 5. What's going to happen to that 4?
Grow.
It's growing. To a 5. So you keep, remember, anything to the left you have to keep. Only the stuff to the right becomes 0. So we got to keep that 300. The 4 in the tens place changes to a 5. And anything to the right, you just make zeros. So that one's 350. Would anyone like to try the next one? You guys ready to try it or not?
No.
You want me to do one more?
No.
Okay, and then maybe I'll let you guys try this last one. Okay, ready? 386. Go. Dot on the units, dot on the tens, arrow to the hundreds. It's a 3. Now look to the right.
8.
It's an 8.
Grow. Make
The
it.
3 has to grow. To a 4, and everything to the right of the rounding place becomes zeros.
400.
And there was, you know, guys, before I continue, I kind of forgot to circle 350 and 300. And since this one just ran into 400, I'm putting a third circle on 400. Boy, that guy's popular, isn't he? Okay, going back to 386. This time we're going to round to the nearest 10. Ready? Units, tens. I see an 8. Look to the right. 6. What's going to happen to that 8?
9.
Changes to a 9. Everything to the left stays, so I got to keep that 3, the 300s, and I got to change the 8 to a 9. Everything to the right becomes 0. 390. You want to try one? Okay, Silas. Circle 390 in your skinny box. And Silas is going to lead us through 338. And Silas, we're going to start with the nearest 100. Okay?
Put a dot on the units and the tens and put a yellow hundreds.
Okay, so for our distance learners, here's what Silas said. Put a dot on the unit, a dot on the tens, and an arrow on the hundreds.
And then the few white and it's a 3, so it stays as 3.
Thank you. Now he said, look to the right, it's a 3. So you're going to keep that 3 in the hundreds.
And then the white is 3 and everything else changes to 0.
You write the 3 for the hundreds, and everything to the right of it becomes zeros. Great. We're going to put a second circle around
300.
300.
There too.
Is any of you feeling brave enough to do 338 to the nearest 10? Gage.
So,
Speak as loud as you can.
so 3, look to your right.
Wait. You lead us through the dots and the arrows. Ready? Well, you found that 3. How did you find that 3 in the 10 spot? You must have, in your mind, did you put a dot on the units? And an arrow on the tens. And it's a 3. Okay, now tell us what to do.
Look to your right. It's an 8.
It's an 8. Look to the right, it's an 8.
The 3 has to go.
To a,
4.
all right, Gage got it. That 3 in the tens place does have to grow to a 4 because to the right of it is an 8. So you're going to keep the 3 in the hundreds, grow the 3 in the tens place to a 4, and everything else becomes 0. Go ahead and circle 340. And we're going to turn the page. You should be on page 107. Miguel has 68 crayons. About how many crayons does he have? Describe the strategy that you used to round. Well, you guys, did you notice it didn't ask you whether to do it to tens or hundreds? Why not? Because it's only got tens. There's no hundreds in 68.
Yeah, it's only 68.
They must want you to do it to the closest 10, right? So who would like to try it? Gage.
The nearest 10 is 70.
Well, how did you do it?
Got the 6 and the 8.
You put a dot on the 8. You looked at the 6, because that's in the tens place. I'm writing down what he says, so Hang on. Dot. Put 8.
Use the number line and then I added 2.
Hang on, Gage. Arrow. The 10s. Okay, now what did you say? You looked to the.
I looked at the 8 and I added 2. And I added 7.
So you looked at the. So there's 8 in the units.
And then you add 2 more. It equals 70.
We don't add 2 more. We just add 1 more to that 6, right, buddy? So we're gonna. You have to go up. The 6 has to become a 7. And then over up here on this line, do put 70. I tried to take your words and make them as short as I could, okay? You did a great job. Done.
I was done before you done.
I'm going to give you about 1 more minute. So just write as quickly as you can. It is a fair amount of writing, but don't be scared of that. Because it's giving you a skill that you will take for the rest of your life. If you can, first of all, say what Gage said, explain your thoughts in a way that others can understand, and secondly, write it down. It makes a big difference to the kind of job you'll get. People who can do this become leaders. They become like, the boss or the head engineer, or they own their own firm. So they own their own business. If you can do this, it's really, really cool skill.
Like instead of working in a shop as a cashier.
Right. Instead of doing what someone else says,
You could be the man.
you're the one saying what to do. And you can either tell yourself what to do, that's what Bruce does. Bruce is his own boss. Or you can tell someone else what to do, in which case you're the boss of others. I am kind of going to wrap up, so if you're still writing, just do the best you can. I'm going to go to number 5. Look at each set of numbers. For which set can all of the numbers be rounded to 100? Mark all that apply. Number 1, 52, 68, 81. Start with 52. Ready? Units, tens. Look to the right. It's a 2. The 5 stays the same. That's just going to stay 50. So does A work?
No.
No, we don't even need to test 68 and 81. Because even if those two do go to 100, the 52 does not. B, 49, 74, 93. 49, ready? Units, tens. It's a 4. There's a 9 next to it. That 4 is going to grow, right?
5.
To a 5 to 50.
Halfway there.
But that one's not going to work. Because 50 is not 100. C, 98, 115, and 132.
Oh yeah, that's the.
Oh, you guys, I think I should have rounded to the closest 100 each time, huh? I'm going to start over. 52, 68, 81.
Yeah.
Let me get a clean sheet of paper, because I already made arrows. Units, tens, hundreds, there's nothing there. It's just 0. Look to the right, it's a 5. You would go up from 0 to 1, so that would become 100. The next one, units, tens, hundreds, there's nothing there. Look to the right, it's a 6. So that would become 100. It would go from 0 to 1. The next one, units, tens, hundreds, there's nothing there. But there's an 8 next to it, so that would go up to 1, from 0 to 1. So A, actually, if you rounded all of those to the nearest 100, it does. I'm glad I double checked. On the next one, we're going to go units, tens, hundreds. Again, there's nothing there, but this time, look to the right. It's only a 4. Would that 0 change and become a 1? No, because it's only next to a 4. So B won't work. Let's go to C. Units, tens, hundreds. There's nothing there, but next to it is a 9.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to go up to 100, right? That 0 will become a 1. Go to the middle number. Units, tens, hundreds. It's a 1. Next to it is a 1. It would stay as a 1, so that would become 100. Last one, units, tens, hundreds. There's a 1 in the hundreds. Next to it is a 3. That 1 would stay. Those are all going to round to 100. So C is correct. D, I'm going to be super naughty and go to the last number because I think that it does not round to 100.
No.
Ready? Units, tens, hundreds. There's a 1. But what's next to it? A 5. What's going to happen to that 1? Grow to a 2. So, just like I thought, D won't work. E. Units, tens, hundreds. It's a 1. Next to it is a 2. It's going to stay as a 1. Units, tens, hundreds. It's a 1 again. Next to it is a 3. Stays the same. Units, tens, hundreds. Look at the one next to it. It's a 3 again. That one's going to stay. E will do. They'll all go to 100. F, if you don't mind, I'm going to be super naughty and go to the last one. Units, tens, hundreds. The hundreds is a 1, but next to it is a 6 to the right. So that's going to go, the 1 would go to a 2. Okay. Number 6, Miss Hoy has a sheep farm. To the nearest 100, she has about 500 sheep. To the nearest 10, she has about 540 sheep. How many sheep could she have? Circle the number that makes the statement true. So they said number, so it can only be one of these.
545.
Gideon says it's 545. Grayson says it's 535. So I think none of you are picking the top one, so let's decide to look at one of the middle. Which one should we look at first? The one Grayson wants or the one Gideon wants?
Me.
Okay, Gideon's. The bottom one. Ready? We have to figure it out to the nearest 100 first. Ready? Units, tens, hundreds. It's a 5. Look to the right, it's a 4. So that would, what? The 5 would stay. That would work. To the nearest 100, it is 500. But now let's check it out to the nearest 10. I'm going to use a different color. Units, tens. It's a 4. Look to the right. It's a 5. What's going to happen to the 4? It's going to grow. So to the nearest 10, 550. So that number won't work. They said to the nearest 10, it's going to make 540. Let's try Grayson's. In the middle there. Ready? Units, tens, hundreds. It's a 5. Look to the right, it's a 3. It's going to stay as a 5, so that one works. because they said to the closest 100, it's going to be 500. Well, now we just have to check if it'll work to the closest 10. I'm going to take a different color, same number though. Units, tens. It's a 3. Look to the right. It's a what? 5. What's going to happen to the 3? It's going to grow. So to the closest 10, you guys, the 500 stays, the 3 turns into a 4, and everything else becomes 0. It's that middle one. Hey, Gideon, don't be sad. At least you guessed. Some of your friends didn't even say anything, so you did good. Flip your whole packet over. Take the whole packet and flip it, and you should be on page 108. Round each number to the nearest 10, and then draw a line from each number to the rounded number.
15, 20.
So Gideon, he's getting us started awful quick. He says 15 becomes 20 to the closest 10. Let's look. Units, tens. Excuse me, Gideon, I'm talking. Units, tens. I put an arrow on the tens. Look to the right, it's a 5. What's going to happen to the 1? Grow to 2. So is he right?
Yes.
Yes. Somebody else do B. Reuben.
26 grows to 30.
Yep. Units, tens. It's a 2. Look to the right, it's a 6. The 2 becomes a 3. It's going to grow to 30. C. Grayson, you try that one.
10.
All right, let's try. Look, units, tens. There's a 1. Look to the right, it's a 4. The 1 stays. Grayson is correct. And the last one has to be 40. Josie, number 8. Josie counted the stickers in each of her sticker books. She rounded the number to the nearest 100. Right next to show the number, to show if the number can be rounded to 100 or 200. Who wants to do 148? Okay, Gideon, come on, be brave. To the near, okay, Silas, to the nearest 100, go. Units, tens, good.
Units, tens,
Hundreds.
and then you put an arrow to the hundreds, and if you look to the right, it's 4, so 1 is not going to change.
All right, so it's going to be to
It's
the
going to be 100.
100. He said that 1 will not change because if you look to the right, there's a 4. So we're going to put an X here. This one will be 100. Who wants to do the next one? Gage.
I'm raking my
So you put on 7, on 5, and then the 100.
Arrow on the 100. Look to the right.
Then 5 and the 1. The 1 is going to stay the same.
Wait. No, the 1 is not going to stay the same, Gage, because there's a 5 next to it. What's going to happen?
1 next to it.
The 1 in the hundreds in the rounding place, is it going to stay the same? The 1 is going to turn into a 2. So this will become 200, so we're going to put our X over there. Who wants to do the next one? Gideon.
hundreds. 1 will not stay. 1 will stay the same.
The 1 will stay the same because there's a 4 next to it. Good, Gideon.
I'm gonna do it.
Last one, Grayson.
Put a dot on the 3 and 5. Then an arrow on the 1. Look to the right of the 1, and there is a 5, so the 1 goes to 2. And then the rest are 0.
Okay, for distance learners, you might not have been able to hear him. He has a real soft voice. He said put a dot on the 3 units and a dot on the 5 tens and an arrow on the 1. And then he said look to the right, and it's a 5, so that 1 in the rounding place will go up to a 2. So we're going to put our X over here. Good job. Number 9. Eli has about 290 coins. Could he have the number of coins shown? Select yes or no. 286.
No.
Hang on, guys. Let's round it. Let's round it. Let's walk through the process. Who wants to walk us through? Silas.
So put a dot on the 6, and then the 8, and put an arrow to the 2.
No, we're actually, look, I think we should round to the closest 10 because this is not in the hundreds, this amount that they gave us. So we're going to put an arrow, Silas, on the 10s.
So put the arrow actually on 8. Then, if you look to the right, it is a 6. So that 8 is going to turn into a 9. So our answer is 290.
So it's a yes. All right. Distance learners, he said, put an arrow on the 8, look to the right, there's a 6. The 8 would turn into a 9, and that gives us 290. So A is a yes. B, who wants to do that one? Reuben.
We'll put a dot on the 4, and then arrow on the 9. And if by the 9, it's a 4.
So does the 9 go up or stay the same?
Stay the same.
Good. So then, would it make 290 if we rounded it?
Yes.
Yes. All right. That one is a yes. Who wants to do the next one? Grayson.
Put a dot on the 1, and put an arrow on the 8.
Miss Jana, can you help out? Thank you.
The 8 stays the same,
Aha.
so it's no.
Thank you. So for those of you that are distance learning, he said the 8 is going to stay the same on C because it's only got a 1 next to it to the right of it. So that one's a no. Because it would be 280.
No.
D.
It's my best friend.
Gideon.
Okay. Okay. This is already a no.
It's already a no. That's pretty cute, Gideon. Yeah, you guys, no matter what way you cut it, it's not going to round to 290. Because, wait, let me explain why. Because it's already on a different 10. If you were looking at a number line and you had 290 and 300, it's on the 300. Gentlemen, so flip your page carefully over to the back page. Number 10. A sea lion weighs 447 pounds. Oh my goodness.
Why has he been eating all
I didn't know they've been weighing that much. About how much does it weigh? Round to the nearest 100 and the nearest 10. Use the tiles to write the numbers. Who wants to do it to the nearest 100? Silas.
Put the dot on the 7, put the dot on the 9, 4, are the same thing, the hundreds. And then, if you look to your left,
You mean to the right?
to the right, it's a 4, so it's going to stay the same, and it's going to be 400.
Okay, so we're going to use the 4 and the 0 tiles and write 400. Gideon? Who wants to try rounding that same amount to the nearest 10? Not Silas. He just did to the nearest 100. Who would like to try it to the nearest 10? Reuben.
Put a dot on the 7 and an arrow on the 4.
Whoa, which 4?
And then look to the right of the 4, it's a 7. So you would grow the 4 to a 5.
Good. So it's going to become 450.
50.
And you used this tile, and that tile. We are on the last one. Please hang in there because this has been a wonderful lesson, but it's been quite long. Gia has 75 marbles. She used a number line to round 75. She's got 70 over here, 80 over here, and 75 in the middle. Everybody ready? Gia says she can round 70 or 80. She can round to 70 or 80 because 75 is in the middle. Is Gia correct? Explain your answer. Use words and numbers.
She is
No,
correct.
No.
Yes, yes, yes.
Who says yes, she's correct?
I do.
Okay, Gideon, you came late. Who says no, she's not correct? You guys are right. Gideon got here late. He didn't hear the first page. On the very first page of this packet, guess what it said, Gideon?
What?
It said the minute there's a 5 to the right of the rounding place, you go up. It's a rule. You weren't here when it said that, so that's why you didn't know. So, is she correct?
Yes.
No. No.
Words and numbers.
I know, we have to use both. That's a lot of writing again, I'm sorry. Just do your best. I tried to say it in the littlest amount of words I could. So I wrote,
I cannot.
she is incorrect because if there's 5 or more to the right of the rounding place. No, I wrote, she is incorrect because if there is 5 or more to the right, the rounding place number goes up. Once you're done, let me know.